Happy birthday, buddy. That was me 8 years ago, and this is a history video on one of my most popular characters ever created, and it's that little guy right there. he's a lot. He's not that small anymore, believe me. So this, if you're wondering, that is Dragon Inflatoman as a baby. That's how tiny he was. And I'm obviously wearing a different shirt for some reason, as you can see. But anyway, I'm going to go into a small bit of history on where this character came from and how he's evolved over the years. And I do intend on doing some kind of history video about him at some point. This is just a little precursor. Am I saying that right? So it was May 17th of 2013 that I created this character. I was in middle school at the time, and after going through my old art books, I actually found possibly the first ever drawing I did of him. So after going through numerous art folders that I made, I found this, which I believe is the first ever, which I feel like this may be the first ever drawing I did of him back in 2013. And this was December 14th of 2014, so this would have been a year later. As you can see, his design is rather strange. I mean, this was 2014, so what do you expect? Moving forward. So this one here is actually from a later piece that I did, and we were supposed to do this assignment where we draw something and then we do the black lines in between with all the negative space. And so this is basically me drawing Eric Land back in 2014, I think it was. As you can see, I came a long way since learning how to draw, and it is honestly terrible to see how Eric Land used to look. But as you can see, there's the big guy himself, and he's relatively still the same. So as you can see, judging by this design here, he's a lot more snake-like, I guess. Well, you know, he's in an S shape. That's perfect for Mom, because she loves the letter S. Especially since she likes to use that for some reason. But as you can see, he had very human-like legs at one point. I'm honestly surprised that I allowed that. Continuing on. So as you can see here, his design continued to develop, and this is a picture that you may recognize. And let me talk about where his design actually came from. His design actually came from numerous different movies that I grew up with, and along with different comic books that I was interested in. You can probably tell which ones they are. So, feet are rather enormous if you look at them. If you look at them long enough. I mean, it was what I could draw back then, so I wasn't exactly good at that. But there's actually some significance in a lot of design details that are going on here. For example, one of the biggest is if you count these spikes, there's 12 of them, and 12 is actually my favorite number, and so that's why there's 12 spikes here. And also, another interesting thing is that originally the eye symbol here actually was a diamond shape, and I changed it because I thought a diamond didn't look that good, so I changed it to a circle for some reason. Simplicity. Oh, and this is, for those of you who are trying to figure out exactly how big Dragon Inflatoman is, basically this lists it, and I did the math. He's 470 feet tall and 657 feet long, so if he was real, he would be taller than the Statue of Liberty, and he would also be the height of a 43-story building. So, not entirely sure if that's accurate or not. Like, is the height from the bottoms to the tops of his, what are those, like, toenails or something? I'm not sure. I can't do the math right now in my head. I don't have my calculator with me. But he was based on numerous dragons that I've seen in both TV and movies. Um, and it was, and I wanted the biggest one around in cinema, and so that's why that he has such an enormous size. I actually worked that into his backstory for the animated series I intend on doing about him. So that's an interesting piece of information. Now, this was also around the time that Eric Land in Minecraft was starting to appear, and as you can probably imagine, this was his most famous appearance besides the cartoons and drawings that I wasn't doing at the time. I turned him into an observation tower. Now, I'm gonna get just a little bit dark here, but think about it. How on earth did we get, how on earth did we get Dragon Inflatoman as a observation tower? Because think about it. Basically, we killed him, and then we taxidermied him, then we removed his skeleton and his organs, and put put an observation tower inside of him. So basically, that happened. Okay, darkness over. However, as it turns out, Dragon Inflataman wouldn't make his first animated appearance until my 200 subscriber special. Oh wait, no, that was for New Year's, my bad. As you can see, he's static. As you can see, there he is in the background, and this would be his first animated appearance, and so his design had to change accordingly. You guys probably remember this, right? Episode 1 of Secrets of the Dragon, and there's my buddy off in the distance, and this would be probably his most famous role, besides everything else. And actually, can we talk about one part of his design that everyone seems to get wrong? It is his mask. I would like to say, for the record, that Dragon Inflatoman is a male. It would be pretty obvious by now. The whole thing is, since he's a superhero and he's wearing a suit all the time, he's wearing a mask. And this mask is actually something that I designed based on a movie that I saw a long time ago. I forget which one it was though, but he's wearing a mask. He doesn't have super long eyelashes or anything like that. It's really weird because a lot of people say, is he wearing mascara or something? He's not. He's a male. So now we get into the more, I guess, like, more recent drawings that I've done of him. And as you can see, this is one of the drawings I did for the next episode of SOTV. And as you can see, his design is relatively the same from what it was back in 2017. However, I changed some of his design recently, and I will slightly hint at that. But I don't want it to be seen immediately because I want this to be a slow and gradual transition. Oh, and you're probably wondering, like, what on earth is he doing? Well, as part of his design, the inflation part of it is something that I've been, I guess, like, obsessed with ever since I was a young kid. I have no idea why. And so, with different fluids or air, basically, imagine his body is kind of like a rubber water balloon or something like that. I'm trying to explain this in the best way possible and it's not working. But so basically his body can get larger like a balloon almost, and I actually did concepts for that. Now this is a drawing I've never intended on showing, but I brought it out for this. So as you can see, he's got a ton of water in his stomach. Basically his stomach has the same consistency as rubber, I would say. How much does rubber even... Okay, now I'm getting into the logistics of it. This is a cartoon. There's no logic involved. And ever since his introduction back in 2013, uh, another one of my old drawings that you see here. Ever since that day, Dragon Inflatoman has become a very prominent figure in both Ericland and in my cartoons. I mean, sure, he's probably not the most original character, but he's still one of my favorites. In fact, he may even take Handy's place as my favorite character. Despite the fact that he's changed noticeably and considerably over the last 8 years, he's still a playful guy. Like, if he wants to, he can let me ride my scooter off of his tail like some kind of idiot. That's what I did back in episode 2 of SOTD. He has a very playful side. The only thing is that he's constantly, saving people and whatnot, so that playful side usually doesn't show through. But he's got a playful side here and there. And speaking of that playful side, here he is in one of my old cartoons where I throw a snowball at his hip and he decides to throw a snowball back at me. He's got that playful side. And as you can see, he's dropping a snowball about the size of a house on me. Don't worry, I survived. I mean, I did get frostbite on my head, but I didn't need any surgery. And fun fact, this is actually... Where's my finger? Oh, there it is. So this is basically where his new design came from. I decided to stray away from the logic and realism behind most dragons that I saw and that I used as reference. I mean, it was one of my other dragon characters that I made for a future project that I'm working on that really played a role in this, because... allow me to explain. So as you can see here... Oh, wait. So as you can see here, his arms are enormous, and he's known for those arms. But look at his stomach and his chest. Oh wait, I just have a mouse for this. What on earth is going on here? Like, why is his chest and stomach area so chubby looking? Isn't that weird? Like you got enormous arms, but a tiny and roundish looking stomach. Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so it was this design here that you see with his chest where the eye symbol is that really played a part in how I redesigned him. But for the longest time, as you're about to see, he basically had a very roundish looking stomach. And it's very obvious here, as well as here. I'm honestly really surprised that I was able to find this after all these years. In my opinion, episode 2 of SOTD is by far the worst episode in the series so far. I have no idea why. I can't really pin it down to a definitive reason, but I just don't like the episode for some reason. And it's just boring to me for some reason. And then here he is again. This is actually one of my better drawings of him. Still got the human-like legs and the weird-looking feet, but that was the style I was going for back then. Don't judge me. And you probably remember him most recently from my Firework Fail cartoon. In fact, this is not an official redesign. It's actually just for the cartoon. You see, the reason is because I figured since I love U.S. history and I love America with a passion, I figured that I would redesign him temporarily for Veterans Day, because I love my veterans, and my friend's a veteran, and so is my grandpa. And so that's why I gave him a red, white, and blue costume for that one cartoon. And no one would notice this unless I actually told them, so it's a little behind the scenes thing for you. Now, this was actually before his major redesign, and so a lot of the design elements that you see are actually holdovers. But as you can see, his head got some TLC here and there. Like, for example, the horns are not as far back as they were before, but they're still in the same shape. And actually, the reason that he's got there's actually another major little design thing that I didn't tell you. Now, this goes back all the way to to his tail with the 12 spikes on it. You see, 5 represents the 5 main characters that I created when I first came up with the idea for Ericland. Or at least, like, in 2014, Ericland, that was. So you have Handy, Comet the Wolf, me, Dragon Inflatoman, and I forgot what that last one was supposed to be. But another thing, too, is that the number of lines or ribs, as they call them, going across from the bottom of his head down to his belt, basically that is actually how old I was when I created the character. I was 15, so there's 5 here, and then there's 10 down here. And so, if you do the math, I was 15 at the time. Isn't that interesting? It is to me, I don't know if it is to you, but moving on. Okay, now this is... I wouldn't say this is official, but... my face. But anyway, in this cartoon, you see this. I'm honestly so embarrassed that I put this in, but... but basically, I was at school once with a friend of mine, and one time... I'm gonna rewind it, I'm so embarrassed. But basically what happened was basically one day we were fiddling around with this plant. It looked like it was dying. And so my friend wanted to get some water for it. The only thing was she didn't have any water with her. So she went to a nearby water fountain, filled her mouth up with water, and then she ran back over and poured the water over that plant. And so basically that's what Dragon Inflatoman is doing here. It's just on a larger scale. No one would know it unless I shared it with them. Essentially, what's been going on recently with this character is that I feel that he could be improved here and there. For example, I made his wings go from a umbrella shape, or like I guess it was an umbrella shape. So I took his wings from an umbrella shape and I redid them into more, I guess, like realistic looking wings. But whatever these things are on top, I kept those for some reason because I thought it was nice. But recently, I've been tweaking his design even further. Like, for example, there's this small medallion around his neck, because originally his cape just connected into his back somewhere. But I wanted a more, I guess, like more realistic way of doing that. And so that's why there's like this small belt looking thing that goes around his neck. And fun fact, there's evidence of this. Wait, hold it. So as you can see, there's an E right there. Now, all of my characters have some kind of E that basically tells people this is my character. And so that's why there's an E there. And I thought it looked nice, and turns out it does. And there's like different little holes that he can fit the what is that, like a belt clip or something? Anyway, so moving into 2021, I've been redesigning him to the extent that I can, while still keeping that same charm that he's always had. And so I've been experimenting with his chest, and his chest is going to be probably the biggest change, next to his legs and wings. Other than that, everything else is going to be exactly the same, but his legs and his chest are being worked on right now, and I'm going to give you a small taste of what that possible new design could actually be. I'm just kidding, I'm not going to show you yet. I want it to be a surprise. But anyway, to this day, Dragon Inflatoman has become a prominent figure in Ericland and in my life. He kind of represents the person I want to be, to some extent at least. But anyway, thank you for watching, and happy birthday, buddy.